Very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another uLaw webinar. In today's webinar topic, we're going to be discovering the various options that you have as a uLaw user across the Settings tab to personalize your entire uLaw experience, right from color combinations to data to other specific permutations and combination of style that's more meant for your particular firm. So we're going to truly talk about how you could best use settings to maximize the value that you receive out of the uLaw product. Today's webinar is not accredited for any CPD credits. It's going to be one of those very functional demo-centric webinars where we're going to be doing a lot of hands-on deck, specific demonstrations of a functionality within the product. And in today's webinar, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to certainly discover various different options that even our power users sometimes may skip to understand. Okay? I once again kindly request you to mute your phone lines and use the chat window to ask any questions during any time of this webinar. Again, I repeat, today's webinar is not accredited for CPD credits, but it's more of an informational webinar that talks specifically about how best to use the settings and what you should expect. Thank you, everyone. Welcome once again to the uLaw Settings Explained webinar. Pretty much using Boolean options to know yes, no, providing specific information that you want, even including rates. So if there are specific rates that you have for your firm, billable hours, and again, if there are specific rates based on matters, based on type of matters, your tax number can be included as part of the settings. So there's various silos of your firm's needs that can be well entrenched into the settings. And the settings also is intertwined with the overall uLaw experience. And we'll take each and every settings tab and walk through some of the salient components of the settings that reflect that overall uLaw experience. Okay? Once again, for those who are just joining us a bit late today, today's webinar for uLaw Settings Explained is a very functional demonstratable webinar of the uLaw product. It's not accredited for any CPD credits, and I remind you to use the chat window to ask us any questions and kindly mute your phone lines. And we're going to be talking about these 11 different areas of the Settings tab and talk about the various combinations that you may want to utilize, and we'll talk about what each of those options mean and how best to put it to use. Okay, some best practices as well. And then in terms of the overall agenda, again, I wanted to use that slide share to go through each and every component of it. I don't want to waste any more time. We'd love to jump into the actual product itself because we need that time between now and 3 p.m. to walk through each of those components. Okay. For those who are joining us today who don't know who we are a Canadian legal accounting and practice management software company based out of Ottawa. And we welcome you to explore the use of our product that is striving to make every Canadian legal professional compliant with Law Society guidelines and very be smart as a business owner with the data that they have. We do offer a no obligation 30-day trial. So please we welcome you to our website, and please do give us a chance to showcase to you what we can offer you as a product. Okay. I'm going to be jumping into my fictitious legal practitioner, Roger Moore, as a uLaw user. So I'm logged into my Playground account that I predominantly use for all my demonstrations. And I'm logged in right into Roger Moore's account. Okay. Now, as you can notice, you obviously have the 7 different menu options on the left-hand side of the product. But here at the top right is where you have our settings tab, okay, or our settings area, where that's where you're going to personalize the entire uLaw experience for your specific firm or you as a solo practitioner. Because the product being on the cloud remains to be the same for all our clients, so we don't have separate code for each client. It's a cloud-based product. The product remains to be the same, but how every client of ours personalizes their experience and personalizes it to their specific needs of the firm is predominantly used on our settings tab. So let me click on it. And once I do click on it, you notice, just like my slide share, there are these 11 different tabs. Okay, right from general to permission. Each tab has its own specific significance with regards to how it alters your personalization and your user experience within the product. Okay, so let's take a simple example. When I logged in, by default, I logged into my landing page, which is the dashboard. Okay. Now, you may have multiple users within a firm utilizing various different user roles within the product. So if you have a front office personnel and day in and day out, what they do the best and the most is client intake, maybe a default landing page is best suited to be contacts instead of the dashboard. So within the settings for this particular user, you could say, every time I log in the first time into this uLaw product, I want either the dashboard or the contacts, matters, or calendar to be the default view. So if I set this to contacts and I hit save, okay, so anytime anything is happening in uLaw, it shows up in our saving settings tab. And let me quickly sign out. Okay. And if I log right back into my same account, and what you should expect is because the to uLaw, he should now see the default view as contacts, as you can see, right? You see it's now contacts instead of dashboard. So this is a very powerful setting, especially if you have a client intake personnel or a front office staff whose predominant role is to do that of a client intake. Okay? Simple yet powerful. You could obviously navigate into other menu options. This is just a default view that we're looking to set up. So let me go back into my settings. So that was pretty much the default view. Now you can set your time format to either be 12 hours or 24 hours. Let me just change it to 12 hours and I'll show it to you in our different matters. You can set your default date format depending on whatever is your style, whether it's a date, month, year, or month, date, year, right? Whatever is your style or preferred style of doing things. Time zone, depending on we serve clients across various provinces in Canada. So based on the user preferences, you can set your preferred time zone. based on where you are in the geography using uLaw. And we have a very generic overall color combination. So when you use our matters, for example, a great example will be that of our matters. Let me specifically choose a matter that has limited dockets for a second. So for which I'll use the dashboard, and I'll jump into a more recently modified matter that I was working on. I think this was the commercial. It was a business client, Adidas, and I was doing a commercial file for Adidas. You can see my default, it has a standard color of lightish blue. But if I were to change my background color to, let's say, something as radical as troll green, okay? Again, notice that the saving settings happens here. Once that disappears, you know that you have full control over utilizing the product. So if I go back to matters, you see my default color combination is now starts with that troll green. Obviously not a color that I would prefer. And every alternative color their current password. Okay, so you could always put in your default password. And this is where we set certain strict restrictions or guidelines, if you will, for passwords. So a very strong combination that we expect would be, alphabets, numbers, and any special characters. And if you can notice, for every password combination, we provide the strength of that particular password. Now, if it's a very weak or a weak password, you notice that we don't even allow you to save that password. Only for a mediocre password would we even allow you to save it. But if you then further make it stronger, so it's a really good combination would be alphabets, numbers, special characters, capitals, if you will, so that to really make it a strong password that not only you remember, but it's something that it can't be easily tracked or broken into, right, as a password. Any simple passwords with just alphabets or just with numbers, we don't even allow you to save that particular password. Okay, so the change password is something that our clients use quite often to change their passwords and a very good best practice is to be able to change that password every 3 to 6 months. Okay, it's a really good habit. People can just keep changing that. Okay, so the change password, very straightforward, allows you to change the password. And then what you would have to do is sign out. And then when you log back in, you could use the new password that you just changed it to. Okay, so we looked at general, we looked at change password. Now let me jump into details. This is an interesting tab, and this is predominantly you or your information as the legal practitioner along with your firm's information. So I mentioned to you that I'm logged in as a fictitious legal practitioner, Roger Moore. This is all of Roger Moore's information. So you can actually have additional information based on specific needs, but predominantly what you're going to be using are first name, last name, a company name, and it's important that you provide a company name, whether it's a law firm, paralegal firm, and the reason behind that is we do have further settings within our invoice capabilities that sometimes you may only want to provide your company name in an invoice. In some cases, you may want to provide your first name, last name in an invoice. So having both options available gives you that flexibility of choosing which name to showcase in an invoice. Okay? Obviously, then we have your specific address. You could actually add multiple addresses. As you can see, this is Roger Moore's work address out of Kingston, but he also has his home address well saved within the uLaw. But whatever is set as the mailing address is what's shown across correspondences, court forms, invoices, etc. Okay? Documents, retainer letters, or any of those legal documents. The mailing address is what gets showcased across all those documents. You could add your phone number, your fax number, and the very important component of this screen, which is truly intertwined with the product's features and functionalities, is the email itself. So we request that when you set up your uLaw account, that you actually have a work email set up as well. Okay? The particular work email that we have right here stored here, that's the email that is used for any correspondence that uLaw would like to send you by an email. Okay, so you have some options where, for example, every time you generate an invoice, you have the option in settings for uLaw to send you a quick summary of that particular invoice. Okay, how much was the amount? Are there any pending trust transfers, etc.? A quick summary. Now that email gets sent to this work email that you've given us. Apart from invoices, every time, let's say you set up with a third-party payment gateway, every time you automatically get paid by your client, you get notified that your client's actually paid through that third-party gateway. That email also gets sent to this work email address. Okay, so this is a very important component of this particular setting details tab for all email correspondences. Okay. So again, for our customers or others who've just joined us into this webinar, we're a Canadian legal accounting and practice management software, and today's webinar exclusively focuses on the settings tab of the uLaw product and how best you can utilize it to personalize the use of the uLaw product for your firm's need. Again, it's not been accredited for any CPD credits. Our CPD session would be available for next Friday, November the 2nd, right under our website, uLawPractice webinar. You would notice that the November 2nd Friday webinar is accredited for 1 hour of professionalism credits, and that's on the topic of law society bookkeeping compliance. Okay? So today's webinar predominantly talks about the settings and how best it can be used to personalize the uLaw experience. And we've covered right from general to how you can change your password within the settings to also enhance or amplify your detailed information within the product and how that's utilized as well. And if you now notice, for each or a majority of the menu options that we have, right, from dashboard to analytics, you have a corresponding settings tab. So for dashboard, about how best to visualize and provide that user experience, let's jump into the dashboard settings tab, okay? So let me first show you the dashboard itself. So if you look at our dashboard, which is most often the landing page for all of our clients, this is a feature functionality that allows uLaw to help you maneuver or navigate within the product faster and more efficiently. For example, you have recently modified matters as one of the dashboard items, or squares or rectangles, however you want to call them. So if you were to look at the recently modified matters, if I were to click on the Jeff employment matter, and if I click on it, uLaw would then navigate you direct into that particular matter, into the Jeff employment matter directly, okay? Just like the way the name sounds, it's a recently modified matter and you can jump into it right away. Similarly, if there's a contact that you were working on over a long weekend and you come back after that long weekend, you can click on Thomas Edison and uLaw would take you directly to that Thomas Edison contact. Okay, so you can see now I'm in the contacts panel, the screen just changed and now it's in Thomas Edison contact. Okay, so that truly is the landing page dashboard experience. You could have your own news. You could have invoice pending matters that truly highlights all of the matters for which you've inputted the dockets or disbursements. You're now eligible to generate an invoice, and we're reminding you that you haven't generated those invoices yet. So technically speaking, you would want this particular rectangle or dashboard item to be empty for all ideal cases, right? Because this is reminding you that for these many matters, and even color-coded, so anything that's as old as June, several months prior to today's date, you see that in red. If it's a month old or just over a month old, then it's in brown. And anything within the month is in orange. Okay, so this is just highlighting those matters for which you can technically generate an invoice. You can have upcoming events, you can have upcoming to-dos. So let's say I want to personalize this page. I really don't want modified matters to be first. I would like contacts to be my first dashboard item, followed by my news item, followed by my matters. Okay, and then I would like any upcoming to-dos, and then my invoice pending matter. I want to have 6 dashboard items instead of these 5. How do you go about doing that? Is going into settings. So right here you could see right from our header color, so I can change this to, what's a good color? Maroon. I could say I want a range of events or just the last week. Now I could even personalize the number of analytical items that I want throughout my uLaw experience. Maybe I only want 4. Now let's reorder that dashboard items based on our preference. So we wanted the contacts to be first. We wanted a news section. And I could say Ontario Bar Association. In my 4th or 3rd item, I wanted the most recently modified matters. I wanted upcoming to-dos, the upcoming events. And last but not the least, I wanted my invoice pending matters. So this is how now I've used the dashboard settings to now personalize how I want that dashboard page or landing page, if you will, to be modified. Okay? So if I now go back in, this page should now change, and now there you go. It's now changed it to a maroon header, and now you have 6 different dashboard items inside the file. Okay, pretty straightforward, makes sense. You could have multiple news sections, one for bar association. You can have one for other areas of interest, like sport. So absolutely, you could have another one that specifically talks about, let's say, NFL. And what uLaw do is it would scrape the news in the web sphere, if you will, of Google and Yahoo News, to give you all the news that are relevant to that particular topic. Okay, so you should notice this change now to NFL and the top news on the NFL.